twice. Now the first time was the week that Dan West was the leader, and that was the summer I graduated from high school. And the purpose of the thing was, to hike the Appalachian Trail, but we did a lot of discussion and study and just fellowship along the way. So we weren't hiking extra far, but we did carry our own packs. Virginia Fisher drove from place to place for our meals so that we didn't have to carry all our food. Well, Dan would ask very serious and deep questions, and definitely made us stretch our faith and our knowledge. And it's because of Dan West, I say, that I read every word of Messenger, and have since that time. And I also credit Dan with my practice of reading the Upper Room daily too. Then, while I was still in high school and college, I was able to attend a lot of local, district, and even regional youth activities, for which there were a lot of them during the 50s. There are still some in various places today. And my mother saw to it that I got to a lot of these events. And one of those, and I think I was still in high school when this happened, that I went to the regional rec lab in New Windsor, Maryland. And Bill Smith and a few others were the main leaders. Some of Bill's siblings were living here at Timbercrest when I moved here in 2009, and you probably knew some of them. I think they grew up just across the field here. Anyhow, besides recreation leadership, we were taught personality development and worship leading skills and other things. One of the things that I remember very clearly from those sessions was hearing people can't read your mind. If you want someone to talk to you, you have to talk to them. And then another one was, if people didn't believe you could do something, they wouldn't ask you to do it. Two very important learnings. Well, I was at Elizabethtown College, and I just lived a mile away, so I was a day student, did a lot of walking that time. I majored in elementary education, but I also got a certificate in religious education. Bob Byerly was my professor and counselor for getting that certificate. And so while I was in college, I was also on the Eastern Pennsylvania District Youth Cabinet as the newsletter editor. So this gave me a lot of experience and opportunity in visiting various congregations and learning to know a lot of different people in other places. So it was a chance also not only to know what was going on, but to help make things happen. And one of our memorable trips as the District Youth Cabinet was to go to the King Ferry Church in the Finger Lakes region of New York State. Guy Book was the pastor at the time, and Guy was living here at Timbercrest when we moved here. The campus CBYF, that's Church of the Brethren Youth Fellowship, was very active at Elizabethtown College and also in my home church. So I had my faith strengthened and challenged there with that group. And so along with a few helpers, we hosted the Regional Youth Conference, RYC, which happened every year at, no, that's BSCM, that's another one, I'll come to that one. The Regional Youth Conference, which was all of the youth congregations in the state of Pennsylvania in the Church of the Brethren. And Virginia Fisher was the district youth counselor at the time, and she asked me to go with her a number of places, which helped a lot in my growth. Well, summer work camps in the 1950s were then from 6 to 8 weeks long. So right now they have these called Faith X camps, and they're only 6 days long. But I had the opportunity in 1954 to go to a group in Altoona, and we were helping improve the slums, let's call it that. So we lived in one of the apartments that was right there in the slum area with the people we came to serve. We had a Bible school for the children. The back yards, if you want to call them, it looked like a big mud pile, was haphazard wash lines and not much but trash thrown around. So part of our project was to clean up between the two rows, the back doors of the two rows of houses. And they got that done too. So that was one work camp. Then the next summer, I worked at the Crippled Children's Hospital, just a mile from my home in Elizabethtown, but I got to live on the campus there because we worked strange hours and their transportation was not that easy for me to get back and forth. So it was a nice chance for me to see a little bit of what dorm life was like. And I remember one time I had ridden the coach that they provided for taking people into town so that I could go home for a little bit and get some things. And when I got back on, a big man got on. And I think I was 19 at the time. And I was kind of shaking in my boots. And I remember praying very hard that I would come to no harm. I really wasn't in any harm, but I just felt I needed that big prayer. Then the next summer, 1956, I went to Elgin, Illinois, and lived in the fellowship house and worked at the state mental hospital. And some of you might remember those work camp locations too. Young people came from all over the country, and not all of them were from the Church of the Brethren at that time. We had a group of black students from Alabama who were part of our work group, and that was a very good experience. We had house parents who looked after all of us, but we did our own laundry. We each took turn preparing meals, and we had our turn several times to leading devotions for the whole group. All 4 years that I was at Elizabethtown College, I attended the Brethren Student Christian Movement. Now we're at the BSCM, and these were always over Thanksgiving break. So my very first visit to North Manchester was for a BSCM conference in November of 1953. And I remember a lot about that trip too. I got to McPherson and Bridgewater and also helped to host the one at Elizabethtown. And at these conferences, we had really helpful speakers and leaders who strengthened our faith and witness with many good ideas and challenges. At Elizabethtown College, I took classes in Bible and religion, and our Bible teacher was Martha Martin, a single lady. And some were taught by my pastor, Nevin Zook, who I found out later was Tim Ritchie Martin's uncle. And some were taught, of course, by Bob Byerly. And so during those years, the sermons, the messages at the conferences, the rallies, made me all receptive to the call of Christ on my life. In all of this, I also include many of my Sunday school teachers, my parents, my grandparents, and their influence in developing my faith formation and spiritual life. I began teaching the 4th grade Sunday school class at the Elizabethtown Church of the Brethren while I was still in college, and I have kept on being a Sunday school teacher for years and years, mostly with junior and senior highs, but occasionally with adults. I was in church choirs, part of youth activities and class meetings and other places, like many of you, and music. And I think we all agree that a lot of our faith, what we believe and feel, comes from the words of the hymns that we sing. Well, back a little bit, I was 15 years old, sitting on the Vesper Hill with the campers, as I was a kitchen worker, and they did let me go out on that. And it was at a time that I heard a voice say to me, you are to go into ministry. Well, in 1951 or 50, the only way for somebody like me to be in ministry was to marry a minister, I figured. And so when I got to college, my focus on who I would date was kind of limited. There were a bunch of pre-ministerial students, some getting ready to go, planning to go on to seminary after they left college, but there weren't too many of those that were of interest either. And after dating one of those guys for 2 years, we broke up, and then a couple months later, God led me to Don Willoughby, and that's quite a story in itself. Anyhow, Don was a great source of strength and joy to me for 58 years. In the first 25 years of our married life, I was pretty busy raising our family of 6 children and kept active in teaching, directing children's choir, going to women's fellowship, typing bulletins, producing church newsletters, things I really enjoyed doing and apparently was all right doing it. Daily devotions, weekly sermons, fellowship times, visits with others that would keep my faith alive and growing. Our family would often sing together church and camp songs as we traveled, and sometimes we got invited to sing in other places. And we had the odds and the evens, and that's in our birth order. I was an odd because I was the oldest of 3 children. Don was an even. He was the youngest of 6 children. So our children, born first, third, and fifth, and Mike and Brenda sang with me when we did rounds and parts, and Sally, Brenda, Carolyn, and John sang with Don. We had a good time. In the 1970s, I attended a few of the Holy Spirit conferences, one of which was held here at Manchester College, and so was exposed to that kind of worship as well. In the early 1980s, we were in Michigan. We had served churches in 2 different places in Virginia for a total of 8 years, and then came to Michigan in 1972. And I had been asked to serve in various ways in the district, and just about every way you can in the local church except being treasurer, when I felt a call from somewhere to be licensed and was supported in this through the district, because I had been doing an awful lot of the things that the ministers were expected to do anyway. Well, our oldest son, Mike, was a senior in high school at that time, and so the district ministry commission called him too, and we were both licensed to the ministry in the same ceremony in 1984. Well, I studied a little bit through this 3-year reading course all on my own, because there wasn't enough people for a group to do that, and the district said you can't stay licensed forever, you have to be ordained. And so I appreciated so much the work of the Holy Spirit in my life that I chose Pentecost as the day for my ordination, which was May 22nd in 1988. So that's 38 years ago. And in every survey that I have taken on spiritual gifts, I came out high in administration and leadership. And I've done some preaching, but it's not my favorite thing to do. But when I do have to preach, I say my favorite topic is to preach on God's love and forgiveness. We all need love and forgiveness every day. And I make many mistakes, and so I appreciate God's forgiving for my failings. Besides all these other experiences that I've had to do in the local and the districts for the Church of the Brethren, I've enjoyed some other connections too. And again, most of these I didn't volunteer for. I was asked to do them. So I figured somebody believed I could. Don and I were on the Northern Michigan Small Church Task Team for many years. Now that's a mouthful. Northern Michigan Small Church Task Team. It was an ecumenical group, which was really fun, and we provided for professional growth opportunities for church leaders in the Jack Pine. That's the northern part of the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, where nobody in the southern half of the state would come north. So everybody that wanted to do something in Michigan had to go south to Ann Arbor or Detroit or Lansing maybe. So we had speakers come: Herb Miller, Fred Craddock, Walter Wink, Tex Sample, great men of faith from a lot of places. So it was fun to be part of that group. Then I was asked to serve on COBASE. Anybody remember COBASE? Reba does. The Church of the Brethren Christian Educators National Committee, and that lasted a year or two after my term was out. Then I was elected to the annual conference standing committee by our district, and that was when the term was only 3 years, but I got to serve out in Phoenix and Carbondale, Illinois. Then after being on the ballot 3 different times, I got elected to the General Board, which is now the Ministry and Mission Board of the Church of the Brethren. And that's you don't need the details of how that happened. And of course, the local congregation had us serve as delegates. I usually took a turn, and Don might take a turn, but he was on some of the other national committees, so it fell to me. But I've been to a large number of annual conferences, and I like going to business meetings, and I was really glad that I got to go to our conference in Fort Wayne last week. Well, in the fall of 2001, I was called to be the district executive for Michigan, and I felt that I really knew this time it was a call from God. The timing was right. My term on the general board was ending that year, and my 3rd stint as district moderator had just ended. I knew the people of the district very well, and many, many people throughout the denomination. And from all of that, I felt that I had the skills that I was needed for that particular position, and I enjoyed using them. But I had an awfully big learning curve when we had to do pastoral placement through the forms on the computer. Herman Kaufman, who comes here now and then, had to come up and help me figure this thing out. Well, I really enjoyed my 7 years as the district executive, even though those were some difficult and uncertain times for the church. And now here I am at Timbercrest, and my faith journey continues with service on the chapel planning committee, which I was asked to join almost immediately when I moved in. I made them wait a little while. And now as the Oasis coordinator, I'm needing some more help on that one. I really appreciate the morning devotions that we have here. When I was here, we had every morning except Saturday, something here in the chapel. And then the Wednesday afternoon gatherings, which have expanded in their scope of what we do. And many perspectives come our way. So I hope that we can all join in our walk with Jesus through the power of the Holy Spirit. And we serve and witness God wherever we are, through his love and forgiveness. And thank you. Next week, we get to hear Ora Conlon play her cello again. So thank you for being with me in my faith journey.